guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna jump straight into it. We did cleansing last video and today we're gonna do moisture and hydration. So basically, if you're just watching this video, if you didn't watch the part one, I'm giving you guys very simple tips, basic tips, especially for those that are just going natural and are kind of confused. A very simple routine to follow that will help you to retain a lot more length and grow your hair longer and keep your hair healthier. It's a three-step process. We have cleansing, then we have moisture and hydration, and then we have styling. I already did a video on cleansing. Watch that before you watch this one so everything flows. And today's video we're going to be focusing on moisture and hydration. Now, the most important thing to know when it comes to moisture and hydration is your hair porosity. Your hair porosity is what determines how moisture absorbs into your hair. It's what determines how your hair is able to retain that moisture. Now, I know if you're just going natural, you might not necessarily know what your porosity is. And to be honest, there is really no set, very 100% accurate test for you to know. So yeah, it's something that you have to pay attention to your hair a lot and see how it reacts in different things, see how it absorbs moisture, see how it reacts to certain oils. Now, the second most important thing you need to know when it comes to moisture and hydration is LCO and LOC. You've probably heard all these things before. LCO is the liquid cream oil method and LOC is the liquid oil cream method. Both of them work, but again, it depends on the porosity of your hair, and we're going to get into all of that in the video. I'll tell you guys which one is better for what type of porosity. Now, for how to moisturize and hydrate your hair according to your hair porosity, I already have two very detailed videos on that. How to hydrate your hair if you have low porosity hair, and how to moisturize your hair if you have high porosity hair. I don't want to repeat all the information in this video, so this video is not too long. So I highly suggest that you watch those videos before you finish watching this one, or you can watch them after you watch this one. It doesn't really matter. I'll talk about like the types of products to use, the types of ingredients to look for. Everything is very detailed. So now we're just going to jump into how to pick products, how to layer products, the LCO or the LOC method. So number one, we have the LCO method. So that is liquid cream oil. This method is usually best for low to medium porosity hair because oil is the last step. We don't really need oil clogging our strands. We don't really need oil filling up our cuticles too much. So that's why we put it on last, because oil can tend to make our hair very, very stiff. And because our cuticles are kind of closed, you want as much water, as much moisture to get into your hair as possible. So you really don't want your strands to be filled with oil. That's why we put it on last. What the oil is mostly going to do for us is give our hair shine, is give our hair softness, and just basically help to lubricate our strands so that there is less friction that can cause damage. Okay, so now for the L, the liquid parts. Liquid here implies water and a leave-in conditioner. You should have two leave-in conditioners. A creamy one that you use on your main moisturizing day, like maybe after you wash your hair, after you deep condition your hair and stuff like that. And a very light watery one that you can use every day, something that you can just spray into your hair to maintain the moisture levels in your hair. The liquid one is more like a hairspray. It's a hairspray. You can buy one, or you can also make your own hair sprays. People do that a lot, and it works just as good as the ones that you buy. You can put maybe aloe vera juice. Some people like to add glycerin because glycerin is a humectant. Some people add some light oils like maybe grapeseed oil, stuff like that your hair likes, and you just spray it into your hair when your hair is getting dry. Now, the reason why we use a leave-in first is because the leave-in is usually the lightest product in terms of consistency compared to the thicker creams and oils that you apply later on. You want to apply the lighter products first, so that they'll be able to absorb more into our hair before you apply the thicker stuff. It's also the same way you do with skincare. You apply the lighter products first before you go up to the thicker serums and creams. The same logic. Make sure that your hair is quite damp before you apply your leave-in conditioner. Don't just spray water to your hair and apply the leave-in conditioner immediately after. You want to spray some water in your hair. Give it about 10 minutes for the water to actually soak in before you apply your leave-in conditioner. Other product ingredients to look for in a good leave-in conditioner are emollients, fatty alcohols, good plant extracts, good conditioning ingredients. Again, watch my low porosity hair video for all those details. Okay, so number two, we have cream. That is the C in LCO. And cream here refers to your moisturizers, your butters, your lotions. In the LCO method, this goes after your leave-in, and in the LOC method, this goes last. Now the reason why we put the cream last in the LOC method, especially for high porosity hair, is because creams and butters are usually quite thick. The cream going last is going to help to keep all the oil and all the moisture in your strand for high porosity hair, and just keep everything intact so that your hair doesn't get dehydrated easily. Now the kind of ingredients you should look for in your moisturizer, in your lotion, in your butter are basically the same kind of ingredients that you should look for in your leave-in conditioner: emollients, fatty alcohols, good oils, plant extracts, humectants. Technically, a leave-in conditioner and a moisturizer kind of have the same ingredients. The main difference is the consistency and how they are formulated. Creams, moisturizers, butters, they are formulated to be thicker than leave-ins because they contain more emollient content. So they contain more butters, they contain more fatty alcohols, stuff that is going to soften your strand, stuff that's going to soften your cuticle, and also helps to keep moisture locked into your hair. So that is why they are formulated to be thicker. Now, to find the right moisturizer for you, there are certain rules that you can follow that will guide you in picking the right moisturizers. Number one, coarser, thicker stranded hair does better with thicker butters and creams and moisturizers. That is because it has a very high emollients and fatty alcohol content that is going to help to soften your coarse strands. If you have coarse hair like me, you know that our hair tends to feel quite stiff, quite rigid because of how thick our strands are. So the emollients in these butters and moisturizers and creams are going to help to soften our strands. Also, finer hair, obviously following that same logic, does better with lighter lotions, lighter creams, as opposed to like really thick butters, because finer hair can easily get overwhelmed with thick butters and creams. Strands are on the thinner side, so the hair is already naturally soft, so it doesn't really need those extra emollients or fatty alcohol effects. It doesn't really need that extra softening effect, so it does much better with lighter lotions, lighter creams and stuff like that. Number three, high porosity hair does better with thicker butters and creams. Again, just to make sure that the butters and creams are sealing in the moisture in high porosity hair, because high porosity hair has very open cuticles, so those thick butters and creams help to keep the moisture intact in the high porosity strand. For low porosity hair, does better with lighter creams and lighter lotions and lighter moisturizers in general, because again, low porosity hair is very prone to product buildup, and thicker butters and creams can cause build up on low porosity hair, especially if you're not cleansing your hair frequently. You don't want your strand to be clogged with butters and clogged with products that's going to prevent actual water from getting into your strand. Now I know you're probably thinking, what if my hair is high porosity but with fine strands, or what if my hair is low porosity but with coarse strands? Now I have low porosity hair and my strands are very coarse. If you fall into that category, the best way to figure out the moisturizer for you is through trial and error. This is why there are different types of butters, lotions, creams, and moisturizers from so many different brands. So you basically have to try a couple out to figure out the one that works best for you. And that's also why it's very important to follow people that have your hair type, that have not just your curl pattern, have your hair porosity and your hair texture in terms of strand thickness. So if you have low porosity, coarse porosity hair, I have products that I know that work really well for me, and when I recommend them to people that have hair similar to mine, they usually like those products. Another thing you can do outside of trial and error or paying attention to what other people are using is that you can kind of work with the leave-in that you have. So if you have let's say you have low porosity coarse hair, for instance, if you use a light, not too creamy, not too heavy leave-in terms of consistency, you can go a little heavier on the butters and the creams and moisturizers, and vice versa. If I want to saturate my hair with product, I'll most probably saturate it more with the leave-in conditioner, like use more of the leave-in conditioner, and then use the butter or the cream, but not use too much. Just use like a little bit to go over my hair, so you can kind of like use that trade-off method to create like a balance that is good for your hair. If you have fine high porosity hair, use a lighter leave-in, a good penetrating oil, and then as opposed to using a thick butter or moisturizer, use like a thick lotion or hair milk. They won't overwhelm your hair like the way a thick butter would. That should be a good balance for fine, high porosity hair. Now, number 3, we have O, which is oil, or it can also be a serum. Now, the oil and serum goes last in the LCO method, and it goes after the leave-in conditioner in the LOC method. I already explained why we put the oil last for low porosity hair, because we don't want to saturate our hair with too much oil, and why we put the oil before the cream in high porosity hair, because oil helps to strengthen high porosity hair. Now, there is actually a little difference between a serum and an oil. Serums are usually formulated for aesthetic purposes, so they are formulated maybe to reduce frizz in your hair, to give it some shine, to give it a little bit of hold if you do like a style that requires hold, reduce humidity that your hair absorbs, to preserve a hairstyle, maybe if you like straightening your hair or something like that, to add like gloss to your hair, maybe to smooth out your hair. That is what serums are usually for. Because of what serums do, because they are formulated mainly for aesthetics, they should always go last, regardless of if you're doing the LCO or the LOC method. They have to be the last thing on your hair. They have to be on top to function the way that they are formulated to function. Oils, on the other hand, are mainly for nourishing the strand. Yes, they do add shine, they do lubricate your strands and stuff, but they can also strengthen your hair. They help to reinforce your strand and also reduce breakage. Bear in mind though that a lot of companies actually do use the terms interchangeably, so they can call an oil mix a serum just to make it sound a little more fancy. That is just basic marketing. But it's always just good to know the difference between a true serum and a true oil, so that you will be able to make more informed decisions when you're picking products that work for your hair. If you want to use an oil in your hair, you can buy an oil mix from a brand, or you can mix up your own oils if you already know the kind of oils that your hair like, or you can use just a single raw oil and you will be fine. It really does not have to be that complicated. Now, general guidelines to follow when using oils. Number 1, oils generally penetrate into your hair strand, so high porosity hair will do better with more penetrating oils as opposed to lower porosity hair. Lower porosity hair tends to do better with coating oils as opposed to penetrating oils. Number 2, concentrate thicker oils like castor oils on your ends and on the crown. Those are the parts of your hair that experience the most breakage, that are more susceptible to damage. Number 3, do not saturate low porosity hair with oil. You need just enough oil to just give your hair a little bit of gloss, a little bit of shine. You really don't need to go overboard with it. Number 4, if your hair hates an oil in raw form, let's say your hair hates coconut oil because it's very low porosity like me. My hair absolutely hates raw coconut oil. That does not necessarily mean it's going to hate it when that oil is used in product formulations. For instance, like I said, my hair hates raw coconut oil, but I can use products that contain coconut oil in it. That is because when these oils are used to formulate products, they are usually used with emulsifiers to break down the oil so that the oils are able to mix better with water and the other ingredients in the product. Now, when the oil is broken down this way, it is much easier for lower porosity hair to use these oils and absorb these oils without having that very stiff, crunchy feeling. So don't be scared of a product just because you see in the ingredients there's a raw oil that your hair really does not like. It doesn't necessarily mean that your hair will hate it in the product. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're picking products. Number 5, never ever put an oil or a serum on completely dry hair. I've said that before. Please don't do it. You will regret it. You will deeply regret it. If your hair is dry, don't just put oil on it. Oil is not a moisturizer. Oil is not a hydrator. You need something that contains water to hydrate your hair. Oil does not contain water. Oil is meant for sealing. Oil is meant for strengthening your strand. It is not meant to hydrate your strand. So now, how often should you moisturize your hair, and how do you know if your hair is moisturized? So number 1, you should moisturize your hair after every wash and deep conditioning session. So after every time you wash and deep condition your hair, make sure that you go into moisturizing immediately after. Number 2, you can moisturize your hair every 3 to 5 days depending on the quality of the products that you're using. If the quality of the products that you're using is very good, you can stretch it out to 5 days. Sometimes you might even be able to take it up to 6 days. But if the product quality isn't that great, maybe you can redo it every 3 days. Just depends on the quality of the product and also the type of hairstyle that your hair is in. So if your hair is twisted up or braided for like majority of the week, you wouldn't have to re-moisturize that often, because since your hair is in that protective style, it's keeping in a lot of that moisture. But if your hair is like loose all the time, then you want to re-moisturize every 3 to 4 days. Or number 3, you can just simply moisturize your hair whenever you feel like your hair needs it, whenever your hair is feeling dry. But with that, you would have to really pay attention to your hair to know what your hair feels like when it's dry and know what your hair feels like when it's moisturized. Normally, moisturized hair should feel more lubricated, it should feel softer, it should have some amount of shine. If you have a looser curl pattern, then you should be able to see some good amount of curl definition in your hair when it's moisturized. But remember, what moisturized hair looks and feels like can differ according to curl pattern, and it can also differ according to the texture of your hair. For instance, if you have looser hair and your hair forms defined curls naturally, you'd expect to see good curl definition when your hair is moisturized. But if your hair doesn't naturally form defined curls, for instance, if you have like frosty hair like mine that doesn't really form defined curls, doesn't really have like curl definition, you wouldn't expect to be looking for curl definition when your hair is moisturized, because your hair naturally does not form defined curls. And also, the feeling of softness is kind of relative to how your own hair feels when it is dry. I have very coarse, thick stranded hair. My moisturized hair will never ever feel as soft as that of someone with fine hair. It's just not going to happen. So that's why I say the feeling and the look of moisturized hair differs according to your hair type, according to your hair texture, according to your curl pattern. That's why it's good to compare what your own dry hair looks like to what your own moisturized hair looks like, so that you know the difference. Okay, so that is the end of this video. We've done cleansing in part 1. This video was just about moisturizing and hydration. The next video in this series is going to be styling. We're going to be talking about like different styling products, mousses, gels, styling foams, lotions, and also sustainable hairstyles that help to keep moisture in your hair and also help you to reduce breakage. If you have any questions at all, definitely leave it down below and I'll try my best to answer. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking subscribe button down below on my face on this side. Also, do not forget to watch my other natural hair videos and watch the part 1 of this video on this side. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.